let's get Lupita on. I am so happy that we get to do this again every week.
Hey, good morning.
Here she is, trying to, get started on a right foot this time. Um, yeah, I'm so happy that we're able to do this every week. It's kind of like a breath of fresh air that get to like have a conversation and like invite the public and people that want to join.
Yeah,
So, um,
absolutely.
I want to remind everybody if you're just joining us, I don't know if anybody's joined us just yet, but if they are if you have a question for us or you want us to talk about a particular topic, there is a little message bubble with a plus sign. Just click that, ask a question, and it'll show up to us, and then we can talk about it. But oh my goodness, sorry.
I am. I just had a meeting with one of the lenders coach one of the lenders that we use here, his coach. He was nice enough to bring him on so that he gave us like a 1 hour session.
Oh, nice.
So I was like, I got like so much movement going on. But he gave me steps, to handle the market right now.
Hey, that's actually in line with our conversation today,
Yeah.
which is like managing time and our expectations for the day. And sometimes stuff happens and like how do we maneuver around it? So yeah, let's just dive in and talk about it because I think this is something that everyone can relate to, whether they're in real estate or just in business or just in life in general. Um, Time management sometimes gets the best of us, especially if we're starting new in an industry or in real estate in general, or if you're coming from like corporate and you kind of have your day set out for you, and now you come to this industry or this business now that you run, and some people end up having the day run them instead of them running the day. So I think that's something let's talk about like our woes, right? Like in the beginning, how we started and how things just kind of got out of hand or slipped through the cracks. And then we'll talk about like things that we did to kind of pull it all together and be able to manage it. So do you have any stories?
I guess really there was no prioritizing. There was no let's make a schedule. There was nothing. I always lived by my calendar, but not to the degree that I do now. If it's not in my calendar, it's just non-existent. It's just not happening.
Can you remember how it was when you first started real estate? Even if we used our calendars for like the big important things, can you remember how it was? I mean, maybe you weren't as busy as you are now, but let's talk about like the stuff that we can relate to, like trying to juggle everything and what ended up happening.
Well, I did want to say everybody has a different lifestyle. Everybody has a different scenario. For me, I was still transitioning from being at home or not even working for 3 or 4 years and coming into this business to work for myself because before I was working for someone. And it was a challenge. There's a lot of and I did struggle with the transition because it was very easy. I mean, shit, to this day, it's hard to, sometimes make the decision to go out and make calls or connect with people as opposed to, like cuddling up on my couch and having some coffee, that was the hardest challenge, was the discipline to prioritize business. But then there came a point where it was go hard, like it's just that's all I would wake up thinking about. And then my personal life was hurting. So I kind of had to find the balance between both. And I mean, I think I learned a lot of strategies through you, and it was just not even strategies, just like little tips. But there's so much at our hands right now to delegate and cut our time so that we could spend it doing the things that actually matter.
I think one thing new agents don't realize because they're new, and I'm talking to the new agents, the seasoned agents, maybe they need help, right? Because I know some seasoned agents that just like to have control and they want to handle everything and they know they've got everything, but then they will eventually burn out. You will eventually burn out if you continue on that path. So there's always a solution
Yeah.
to the problem that we're having, right? In every aspect, but like, are we going to seek out the solution? Are we open-minded enough to accept different solutions? And I think that's the first part, is being aware this is not sustainable, whatever it is, right? Like you said, if you're going hard on your business, then your personal life suffers. You're going hard on your personal life, then your business suffers. So how do you make this little dance and the ebbs and flows and the waves of both? And there really is no perfect balance.
No.
Um, like everyone has, like you said, everyone has a different lifestyle, and you have to figure out what works best for you. There's some people like that absolutely want to be involved in everything in their kids' lives, and that's great. But what are you going to do in your business since it's already started? You've already created it. Now you have to maintain it, but you want to be here now. So how do you juggle both? And we can talk about plenty of different strategies. I have a lot of just ideas and solutions that come up when I'm having a problem. How do I either outsource this? How do I give myself a specific time? Whatever it is, I talk about it with myself to kind of see like what is going to be the best option for my life.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about time blocking. Do you use time blocking? I use this with a couple of my clients and they had never heard of it. I mean, you kind of know because it's self-explanatory, but then you kind of don't know because you can't be disciplined enough to do something. It's almost like you can't trust yourself enough to do it because, life gets in the way and we're distracted easily. So do you do time blocking for different things?
My biggest time block is getting my rest, sleeping. I try to be very disciplined about shut off time, and I think my body's already just used to, okay, we're sleeping until like 6:30, 7. I have a bandwidth every day, and after that time, it just and it's probably just myself, right? Because I feel like if I talk to myself, I could probably push further. But my internal clock is like, okay, it's wind down time. I think it's very important to get rest because I'm a very early morning person and I don't like to sleep in. I feel like I miss the best opportunities in the morning. And that's just when that's how my brain works. In the morning, it's super active. I retain the most information. I give the best. So I'm just very disciplined on that, where before it wasn't. But my biggest time block would have to be trying to minimize contact with everyone but my family and after 8:30. And I get that from you. I do put my phone on do not disturb. That doesn't mean I don't see the calls, but I just do it because scientifically, like I've read a lot of studies and everything, that the stimulation from a ring or an Instagram post or just the phone itself could just push you back so much further from that resting point. So I'm super well aware of that. I've taught my children that they don't even have TVs in their room. There's zero stimulation. The stimulation is probably the Alexa, and it's only in there because she plays white noise,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, I love that because I want to touch on two things that you talked about. Your rest, that is probably the number one, like the most important thing of keeping yourself healthy. Because if you're not healthy, then you can't be productive in your life, right? And sleep is important. But at the same time, you recognize or you're self-aware of how your body is reacting to the day, to the situations, whatever's going on in your life, that sometimes you may have to shut down a little earlier. Now, what does that mean when we say shut down? It just means disconnecting from the things that are causing, some of the anxiety, which stress and work, it happens, right? So how do we be self-aware, and then how do we, have the solution to the problem. And yours is put your phone on do not disturb. If that is religious to you every day, then people will. And nowadays with iPhones, you can tell when somebody puts their, before we couldn't, like we couldn't tell when somebody has their phone on do not disturb, but now you can, which is fine. So you kind of respect that. But what you're also doing is honoring and respecting your self boundaries. So you've, been able to draw a line. And I'm sure there's things that if it's important, it's an emergency, it's time sensitive, I'm sure you would be able to respond to it if you needed to. But for the most part, it gives you the power to decide if you're going to answer or not answer. So that's the biggest key. And another thing, what you talked about, the dinging, and I am going to give my story is about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago when I first restarted my real estate career in 2016, and I decided to create a team, and we had a ton of clients and a ton of stuff coming through. I was like, I'm the kind of person, like, I like instant response. I want to make sure everybody knows that I'm here for you, and I'm constantly responding instantly. And so what happened was the dinging of the text message and the email and the Instagram post and the Facebook, like the dinging, it was giving me anxiety, and I had never experienced that before. And before real estate, so we joke about it being an industry that's going to kind of push your boundaries in a lot of ways, but it really does. So I decided one day to put my phone on silent just to see what would happen, to see if it would like affect me, and I have never turned it back on since then. It has been on silent
I
for
think that's like
5 years.
huge. If you don't take anything from this, if you watch it later, I think this is probably one of the best things that I could have ever done for myself. But just try it for a week, see what the response is. I get the silence on your phone, but what I did, with the exception of my emails, that's probably the only thing, I eliminated all notifications. I don't get notifications for Snap, for Instagram. I'm on every platform.
Yeah.
I don't even the little red thing, nothing. Like there's nothing indicating that I have a notification. Facebook. So sometimes people will say, "Oh, well, I sent you this," and I'm like, I'll see it when I see it. It's not, if it's really important, you're gonna text me, you're gonna call me. That's the thing, and like you, I've never gone back.
Yeah, I've never gone, and I right now you do the evening, because I don't have little kids. I mean, if y'all don't know, I'm a grandma, so I have grandkids that I love to be with throughout the day. But mine is the morning. The morning is important to me because that's like when I'm first getting started. So I have my do not disturb on until 8:30 in the morning. I wake up usually between 6:30 and 7, have my me time, my coffee, and my morning routine. I'm able to check in if I need to. I'm working out if I need to. But that morning time, I don't want to be distracted because I'm the kind of person, if I see something, I immediately have to respond, and then I'm down that rabbit hole. So my morning gives me that time to kind of get ready for the day. And so now you've talked about your evening, which a lot of people, I do my best work in the evening because, the phone, the email, they're not dinging as much. I'm able to work on some stuff that I needed to get done. So for me, I love the evening when everyone's kind of, winding down, and, the kids are with their mom, and, so I enjoy doing my mornings. Some people I know have the mornings on Do Not Disturb and the evenings. Some people I know have it on all day long. And and they get to pick and choose. I love that for them. I don't know if I could handle that, just because like I said, I'm a super responsive person. So I like people, my clients, and any of my colleagues to know that I'm responsive. But at the same time, I want everyone to, respect my boundaries. And the one thing I try to teach my coaching clients is, if you're going to set a boundary for yourself, you need to make sure you're disciplined and keep it, because if you don't keep it, nobody else is going to keep it. Nobody else is going to respect it. And I think that's something that we could learn, or you could learn as a new agent. I want to talk to the new agents, because when you come into this, you start thinking, oh, I don't need any of this thing. I need to just start working. I need to start pounding the pavement. And yes, that's true. But I encourage you to find resources from the beginning to start figuring out time blocks. I'm going to work on X, Y, and Z at this time. I work out these days, and block it. The calendar is your best friend. There's some people I know that they have to write it down. They want a calendar, um, what a planner thing. I cannot do that because I would lose it. I probably have doodles in it, all kinds of stuff. I have to have my calendar because I'll look at my phone, not first thing in the morning, but when my do not disturb goes off, and I'll see if I have something, I need to prepare for.
Yeah.
And if it's not on there, and I'm telling you, from hair appointments to nail appointments to dentist appointments, anything is on the calendar. If my family needs me to be involved for watching the kids or going somewhere, it needs to be on my calendar. It's the only way I can live. And that's what manages things. I'm curious out there who is not using their calendar to the full potential. And I would encourage you to see why you're not doing it. Because I talked to a couple of people and like, oh yeah, it's here. Like I remember I have a showing here and then I have a dentist appointment. Like I would die. I would because you don't want to have to think about those things. Then you can't turn off when you need to turn off because there's nothing there to remind you. It's like having a little personal assistant.
Yeah. I can also put it in a perspective of with people. I think it's just respecting people's time. If you have a commitment to meet someone or time blocking those times to speak to them. I know it sounds very cold and, it could be like that. But when people come and say, can I call you later? Yes, like let me block this on my calendar so I can talk to you because I have, like we all have things going on and I want to make sure that I give you like my undivided attention and I'm not going to have any distractions or I can tell you like, hey, we can, but I have about 15 minutes. And it does sound cold, but I think it's just the best way to like be respectful and set the expectation and everybody knows what's going on. So I also find it to just be like very respectful to put things in the calendar.
We all have the same amount of minutes in the day. It's just how are we spending them and what are we doing? It was funny. I was reading a book or I was listening to a book and he is a prominent businessman and talking about like how he built his business and then he said on his free time, he's either reading some, personal development or some business development book, but he was at the airport and he was somewhere or maybe a hotel. He was somewhere and he saw a gentleman sitting, relaxing and reading like a fiction. What is it? Fiction book, like a story, right? And he was like, is it fiction or nonfiction?
I can never.
I never remember. Anyways, he was reading a book that was not real. Okay, it was like a story. And he said he glared over there and he was just thinking like, wow, like, is that what it's like to have a job? Because like this guy clearly is disconnected and is like in his mind, he was thinking he must have a job because he was able to get off of work and to come and relax and listen and read this book about fantasy, right? And I was laughing because I was like, I was showing a client the other day and she's like, oh, I'm sorry you had to drive so far. I'm like, no worries. Like, I love it because I can listen to my audiobook. And she's like, oh yeah, I'm listening to this book. And it was, some story, like, I don't know, a thriller. She's like, it's a thriller. I was like, oh yeah. Like if it's not personal development or business development, like it doesn't catch my attention. And so I felt bad because I was like, what is it like to just listen to a story about nothing? Like, I don't know, because my mind doesn't work like that. I just thought it was funny, but how he used his time.
All with this condition to just always do the work for ourselves.
And I think when you become hungry for not just a better life, but just overall, your well-being, you find the things that help you get there. And if you already are living that life, if you're an employee who is happy with God bless you, because my brain and my body does not work that
way. Yeah.
What are some like tools? Do you use any specific tools, maybe some apps or some techniques or some strategies?
Nowadays it's so easy to delegate and find, resources to manage your time. But I was going to tell you, I've also been very surprised at how many people in our industry don't use other, I guess you could say, like I said, like resources to, or businesses to manage the basic daily functions, right? Um, like installing a sign or what else?
Yeah, those basic things that happen over and over again.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know if anybody, well, let's talk about that. So we'll talk about some business stuff and then we'll talk about some life stuff, some personal
yeah.
stuff.
They're,
So in business,
both of them have like really good.
hacks
Yeah.
or strategies.
Uh-huh.
So in business, if you're in real estate, you're going to notice once you start, doing this over and over again, there's things that you do every single time. And eventually you're either going to need to get a assistant. You need to find somebody to install signs and lock boxes for you, somebody to do photography. Like you need to automate some of these things from the beginning, from your first listing, from your first buyer. Okay. That's what I'm talking to new agents who don't think they need, anything because they don't know anything. When you first start working, you need to start seeing like the patterns. And the minute you see the patterns, start putting some kind of processes into place, start looking for ways to delegate it, because that is where people get caught because they've done it for so long. They don't know how to let go of it. They don't know how to pass it to somebody else because they've just done it and they're afraid if they move out of it, the whole thing falls apart. But in turn, you're really going towards burnout mentally, emotionally, physically, and you will sink at some point. So let's talk about the sign installation. If you don't have processes, when you get a buyer or when I get a buyer, I have created a Google Forms spreadsheet, right? I mean, a Google Forms sheet, right? I send them a link. They put all the information that I'm requesting. So my assistant can now prepare buyer agreement documents. She can send out if they need a lender. Like there's processes, okay? There's a little flow.
Yeah. Automation and processing is key in this business. And every time I think about it, I'm like, if I could go back and talk to brand new agent Louis Dunn, be like, girl, get your stuff together, get your stuff aligned, and I seriously hope and wish that for anybody who comes in this business, that they have a mentor or someone that tells them like, hey, you have to discipline yourself. Just run it like you would if you were about to buy a franchise for a Chick-fil-A. It's the same thing, but it's yours.
Let's talk about some things in your daily business. Can you tell me at least 3 things you've implemented, in the past 3 or 4 years that elevated or made you be more, proficient, efficient, double your business?
So definitely looking for vendors that have booking systems, not necessarily where I have to call or reach out to them because I got to book the appointment. That doesn't work for me because not, this is going to sound like weird. No, it doesn't. I mean, it's fine. Just the time it takes for me to get on the call and for you to look at your schedule and for me to look at my schedule when all I could do is log into your website and book a time. I think it serves everyone better, because what if it's a service that you're in the middle of conducting the service? You're not going to pick up the phone, then you call me back later and I'm busy. And by that time, I've got 2 other people. It's just a vicious circle. So definitely photographers that have a booking system, like you said, electronic, so I can book appointments based on my client's availability, my availability, and their availability. And then the second one would definitely be sign installation, especially, depending on the volume that I have at the moment. Sign installation, super installation, those are that. There's a thing that I guess work by, but I don't like my time doing things that are work. The value of them is like per hour. That's all I function. Like, how much money did this cost me, or this is a great thing, or because I'm supposed to be focused on the bigger things. So if I can delegate and it's going to cost me like just this percentage, I count it as a write-off. That's part of the business. It's just part of the business. So definitely delegating sign installations and Supra, because I think um, if I can at all help that, that's great. And then I guess the other one would definitely have been hiring a TC. That's probably like the biggest one. And not only was she able to help me with a lot of the real estate business items, but also personal, and also with my other business. And just all combined, it has definitely helped me, with my time management, to free up some time for me to do the things I'm really supposed to be doing, like lead generating and spending time with my family. So definitely those three in business. And what else can I think of? That's
I mean, those are great ones. And I want, like, tell me, when did you get your TC? Were you just like, were you a first year in real estate? Like, when did you get your TC and what made you decide to go ahead and do that?
Well, honestly, it was, and by the way, I'm actually about to have somebody else come intern, but she's going to be helping me with lead generation functions. And I think it's going to be a great learning point for her, because whenever she gets licensed and, she starts to build her, uh, I mean, that's the hardest part in this business. Most people don't like to pick up the phone and make a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
But the first time it came across was actually one of our friends, fellow agents, and she came to me and said, Lupita, do you think I would be a good realtor? And I told her, absolutely, fucking yeah, like you'd be amazing. I have zero doubt, right? And I honestly think anybody would be a good realtor if you just applied yourself to it. But
I disagree, but we'll get on that later.
so it's just like you're not going to be suited for everyone, but you might be suited for other people. Because I mean, even though you're great, you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. You're going to have your own bubble, right? Um, so yeah, she came to me and said, Louisa, do you think I would be a good realtor so I could pursue this career? I said, yes, you'd be great. She's like, okay, well, can I shadow you? Can I follow you? I said, absolutely yes, but I didn't even know which she was going to shadow, because at the time I was all over the place, right? I mean, I feel like I was pretty disciplined, but there was definitely some things that I could have improved. Well, lo and behold, she was super strong in everything, and she cleaned up everything that I thought was organized and made it better. Um, my strong suit is definitely not admin. It can be, but if I'm so focused on the other end of my business, it doesn't take priority,
Right.
and I wasn't interested in making that priority, because my activity level should be focused on other things. So she came in, and honestly, we implemented a lot of the stuff that you taught and perfected it to my system. So now we have flow charts, we have processes, we have templates and email for repetitive stuff. Those things just cut
Yeah.
time. Uh, and then she came in, and that was one of my best years, honestly, when she came in. Uh, I doubled my production, and didn't have to worry about the audit and stuff, because very quickly we developed a system when we have a listing and then when we have a buyer. These are the steps from A to Z. I mean, they change from time to time, but basically
Sure.
that's.
So I definitely love that. And I want to remind everyone that this is not for somebody who's, you don't need to think about you need a TC or assistant or processes when you're doing 10 deals. Like, you need to do it from the beginning, because once you get yourself started from the beginning, you will continue to grow. Now, you heard her say, and it did it for me as well. It doubled her business. Now, sometimes I'll have a client say, well, like, I just, I'm not really sure if I can afford that. And yes, it's a write-off, but what I tell people is, like, what you're paying them is going to double what you make. They're going to pay for themselves. If
It's gonna
you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, it will work itself out. And there is a little bit of a learning curve in the beginning, but what I would suggest to um, agents that are fairly new, or maybe they're doing well and they've kind of lost organizational, is like, sit down, and write down what you're doing every day. Or if you're working on something, write down what that looks like
How do
and
I
start to create a
how
process.
do I go from this to this and write it down in steps? I don't care if it's bulletin points or bullet points or whatever, but you have to write it down so that you know.
Yeah.
Did you see the comment?
Comcast guys here and there. Great. Awesome.
You can have
Awesome.
internet,
What's
so she'll to know. Thank
yeah,
you.
fun. Welcome to real estate. There's always some kind of, something that comes in. But I want to also, I will probably do it live or some kind of webinar on the processes that I use, and I will share them with you guys. Like I have Google Forms. Huh?
It's invaluable.
I have Google Forms, and what I ask in the form from my buyer, from my seller, and then how the process from where it goes after they receive that, or even before when I get an inquiry, and the process is that it takes it all the way to my assistant to do the paperwork where I am not involved. So like this is all going on behind the scenes, and I can be here, I can be at networking events, I can be at a seminar, I could be talking to clients, and all this other stuff is happening behind the scenes. This is the great thing about having an assistant. And if you follow me on Instagram and my stories, you realize that my assistant doesn't work on the weekend. So I really don't like to do offers on the weekend because then I have to actually do them. And even though I know how to do them, I don't want to do them. That she's great at it. And even she'll tell me like, oh, you missed this. I'm like, that's why I don't need to do them anymore. Like you need to handle it. But while like say you're working, you're showing and you're leaving the showing and you've already did the pre-buyer work and your assistant already has that, and now you're like, hey, they really love this house, go ahead and make an offer, here's the terms, she already knows, or she has a form, or you guys decided how you were going to give that information. From the time that you leave the showing to the time that you get home, if you have a good assistant and you've trained her well, then you should have an offer ready for you to review and for the buyers to sign. And that's how, you make the best use of your time for real estate. There's a ton of other hacks that I'm sure we haven't been able to talk about.
Yeah, honestly, Kim, even if you don't have an assistant, just connecting with someone who has things in place. I mean, realtors, there's a better way.
Yes, there is a better way. And I was going to say that because you said something earlier, and I was like, even if you don't get the assistant, if you put these processes in place for yourself, the minute you get home, now you don't have to sit and type it all, and you can just say, hey, I'm leaving the showing. Here's my link for my new buyer, whatever it is, my intake form, I used to call it. Here's my new buyer intake form. Fill this out. I'll get that worked on right when I get home. So at least when you sit down, you have all the information you need. You pull everything in from whatever you're using, .loop, zip forms. Another thing, zip forms has a couple of hacks. Templates, if you're not using templates in zip forms for all your documents, whether you have a buyer, a listing, rental, whatever. I have Google form intake forms for every kind of client: investor, rental listing, buyer. Like I have it all, and then you have a template for everything. So if you don't have an assistant, you can sit down, pull that template in, pull the information, and it's easy. They have MLS Connect, which pulls in a lot of the information from the listing for you. If you're not using that, please use that. So I'm telling you, there's a ton of hacks, and I will have to like really list them all.
No, you have to do a whole, like you said, webinar, and as I'm telling you, like it's invaluable. Intake form for everything. That's key. You automate your business and you don't miss anything. Because like the example that I gave about calling a photographer, he just lost me as a client because he couldn't get to me at the moment. Same thing with us. If we don't,
that happens with some of my inspectors because I love to work with some of them, but if you don't have a system that my assistant, because my assistant is not here in the States, if you don't have a system that she can't log into and schedule an inspection or schedule photography or schedule anything, like I'm not going to use you. Like that's just, it's not going to work for me because I don't need to be, I know at one time I wanted to use this person because he was the only one available when I needed him. And I was like, I'm going to need you to get on WhatsApp. I'm going to need you to work out. Like I still offlined it from me. And I texted him and was like, get on WhatsApp. I need you to coordinate with my assistant because I don't have the time to do this with you right now, but I need you. So to my vendors that are listening, put something in place. I wanted to bring something up real quick before we switch over to personal. If you're a new agent or starting your career, or you've done less than 10 transactions and you're not really thinking how this even applies to you, start from the beginning, and I will use Calendly or some kind of calendar setup, right? Connect it to your calendar. If you're not using your calendar for everything, please do it. Use Calendly and start using it to communicate. If a buyer wants to have a consultation, or if you want to have a consultation with somebody, or you want to have a conversation, or like, I sometimes have to schedule meetings with my financial planner or my tax guy. Like, I have to set it up. So you need to be the same way and think of yourself the same way, and set it up and start using it for your friends to kind of get used to it. Like, hey, I want to I'm so busy, but I need to I want to talk with you for 30 minutes about what's going on. And so can you send them the link? Can you please schedule time? That way they can see what you have. You can see, and it works. Start using it from the beginning. Schedule buyer consultations, schedule yourself if you need to. Like, I need to book myself self-care time. Like, it has to all be scheduled. So I would say create a Calendly. I think they have a free version and then they have a paid version. Create and set up that so you can start using that for different things. That's going to help you start to get used to taking your calendar seriously. That's what I would say. And Lupita's connectivity went out, but we're going to continue the conversation until she can get back on. And then we're going to transfer over to personal hacks. Now, mind you, I have a ton of hacks or suggestions or apps, techniques that I use in business that I can share with you. And I'm going to have to create a whole series on it because there's a lot. But I want to talk about, let me see if I can get Lupita back on and see if she is, see if she has internet. But while I'm waiting for her, we're going to talk about personal stuff. And I'm speaking to the ladies and guys. I know some of you are, stay-at-home dads, or you guys are helping with the kids. And so understanding and being there for the family is also become important for you. And you got to learn how to be resourceful. So some of the things that I talk about with my clients who are in control and they don't want to let go and they don't know how to delegate is try to figure out the things that need your attention and see if you can she just texted me her phone died. So Lupita, your phone died. I always have my phone plugged in during these lives because I never know how much juice it takes. So getting back to life, some of the things that I've done is take advantage of grocery delivery and grocery pickup. I really don't want to even waste time to go drive and curbside. I order all my groceries from different places, right? I use Instacart. I use Amazon Fresh. It just depends on what I'm needing. Costco delivers as well. Those have been a game changer for me not to have to leave the house. If I'm on Zoom calls or I'm doing coaching calls or, I have a meeting to go to, those things have been very helpful. Another thing is if you need to cook for your family every day, take advantage of doing something like the crock pot. Have something prepared the day before, or make Sundays the day that you prepare things, and easy recipes go in the crock pot in the morning and you can leave them all day and they'll be ready for your family in the evening. Some other things, TaskRabbit if you need something to be done. Uber does do deliveries. Like if I think at one time I needed somebody had left something, I needed to get it to them, and I put it in a bag in the Uber, and it took them where they needed to go. So you've got to find ways. I'm trying to get Lupita back on. You've got to find ways that are going to free up your time, and then use them to your advantage. So all of us women, most of us are moms. I get to do things with my grandson during the week. So sometimes I block time to spend with him, or we're in the pool, and I try to take advantage of these things. On top of, I have my assistant, I have my processes in business, I have my family stuff. Those things make a big difference. Getting my car washed, my husband always has a detailer that comes and he'll ask me, are you home on this day? Or he knows my schedule and he will say the car guy is coming, the detailer is coming to clean my car. That's helpful. My dogs need grooming. I don't have time to go to the groomers and drop them off and pick them up. So I have a mobile groomer come to my house, usually on Mondays when I'm home, doing some of my admin stuff and handling a lot of computer work. And they're out in the front yard getting their groom. So, well, I don't know if we're gonna get Lupita back on. Hopefully we can. So that's just some of the things I do in life, but there's tons of other things that I can recommend. And so with my clients, I like to discuss what is really the pain point, and then just from my experience and my knowledge, how I can offer solutions to them. And there usually is a solution. If you don't have time to clean your house, if you don't have time to cook, you can get a chef, you can do made meals. You can hire a housekeeper a couple of days, a month. You've got to figure out what works for your lifestyle. And I know you might say, well, I can't afford that yet, or I'm not sure if that's going to fit my budget. Again, your time in this industry and life in general is more valuable than everything. So how you spend it is what you're going to get out of it. So being able to, what does it cost you? I always say, like, what does it cost you? Does your time, it's going to cost you more in your time away from your family, away from your important things, away from the things that you want to do than just pay for someone. If you have a pool, if you have a lawn, having a lawn guy and having a pool guy will help your time. At one time, I'll give you a story. My husband wanted to do the lawn. I mean, he was kind of in that feeling. He wanted to experience it. He went and bought all the toys, all the electric lawnmower and the edger and all that stuff. And he started getting so busy, and he started a business, so he understood, like, my time is valuable here. And we had to rehire the lawn guy. And also because, like, who wants to be out there? It's not like, I don't enjoy it. And all right, I think she's back, guys. I think she's back. Let's see. Is she back? There she is.
Oh, I got disconnected.
We were having a whole conversation. We thought maybe your internet went out, but I told them your phone died. So
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean
we're gonna use the last 15 minutes to kind of catch up. We transitioned to personal life. We talked about hacks that I use. Housekeepers, the mobile groomers, the mobile detailers to wash my car, grocery deliveries, that some of those things that take that off of my plate as the woman of the house, and just the things that I know that need to get done, that I can still keep business running, I can keep my house running, I can continue to run. So I shared a lot of that, and some hacks for keeping food on the table every night. If you want to use a crock pot, if you want to buy prepared meals from HEB, from Whole Foods, from MyFitFoods, like, all of those things are hacks. And if you're worried about paying for them, you're going to pay for them in your time, and your time is more valuable somewhere else. So that's what we were kind of going over. That was a Cliff Notes version. What do you want to add? What do you want to add?
Honestly, Kim, I think, hold on. Oh, gosh.
Welcome to real estate. Welcome to lives, and where anything can happen. So fun.
All right, guys. Hold on. I'm like, well, I don't want to hold it while I'm talking to you. Well, literally, the internet guy walked in here.
Lupita is giving us entertainment right now. Okay. I love it.
Honestly, Kim, we could sit here and talk about life and work balance all the time. I mean, like, all day, and give hacks and all that. But to me, at the end of the day, it's literally a mindset. Sure. It's a perspective change of how you see your time and your value. And I can tell you, it is very hard for some people to change that perspective. And saying, oh, like, spending an extra $40 on a car wash, or, getting your groceries delivered. I hate to say it, but it's kind of like a broke mentality, right?
Yeah.
If you want to be better, if you want to make a certain amount of income, if you want to do eliminate those things, you have to actually see yourself in that position before you get there. And
Absolutely.
I think that's the biggest challenge for people. So honestly,
So if you can't get in the mindset, right? If you can't even like you're just like tapping in, like dipping your toe into that place where you're trying to like I'm trying to undo what I've been taught my
what you're
whole life.
programmed to do.
I would suggest to at least listen to the hacks and say like, yeah, that would save me an hour. Don't think of the price. Don't think of what's that will save me an hour of my time. That will save me 2 hours of my time. Think of it that way. And what does that mean to you? And then it will automatically start shifting without you even knowing. And then you'll start being self-aware. Again, there's a problem, there's a solution for every problem out there. I promise you. I'll give you an example. My husband runs a business. He has a business. I have a business. We got taxes. We have our expenses, and I do his bookkeeping right now because it just like I know his stuff and it's easy, and I'm more busy. And I told him, you are going to have to get a bookkeeper now. Like I know you don't want to incur that extra cost.
Or
Your
maybe.
business is still new. Or, no, he says pay me, but that's not even it. Like I don't have the time.
Yeah.
And I would rather a professional handle it. And so I set up a call, got it set, I got it figured out, and I said, you are now gonna be having so and so. I've sent them all your stuff. You're gonna onboard you. I will get to be hands off. I'm still gonna be, helping his business like I do, but I will not be responsible for those things. So as small as I told him dog grooming with my mobile groomer, grocery delivery, my car getting detailed here, he sets that up, my pool guy, my lawn guy, your housekeeper that comes every 2 weeks to help you with there's some people I know that like don't even do their laundry. They're like, I have somebody pick it up and they drop it off because I can either get an extra client at that time, or I can spend that at the spa, getting a massage, whatever you want to do at that time
Yeah.
is up
That's
to
what
you.
I'm saying. I think it's more of a mindset. It's not that you don't have enough money, it's that you need to make more money. That's the change in how you think. So yes, we can give you all the life hacks again, like I said, in personal and business, but what's your time worth with your family or with your dog, whoever you want to spend it with?
And we'll shift gears
Uh,
for the last 5 minutes because I want to talk about procrastination because we talked about all this and you talked about early, you were like, oh, I just
I
want to
don't
like,
want
sometimes
to.
I want to, huh?
I said I don't want to because
Because you said, oh, some days I just want to like stay on my sofa and cuddle and, not do anything. And I think that's okay. I believe when you feel that way, there's a reason that you feel that
yes,
way and you should listen. And whatever is happening should be shifted for you to be able to have that rest day. But procrastination can sneak up, the endless scrolling, the rabbit hole down TikTok. All it takes is one thing and it can take us into that rabbit hole. But if you are focused on your goals, if you're focused on your why, things start shifting in your life to bring all this into alignment. And she hit on something like it is a mindset. So if you can't get there, find the things that are going to feed that for you to be able to shift, because once you shift, you're going to be around the people who are going to come into your life that need to come into your life. The solutions are going to show themselves. The things are going to be available for you to be in that mindset, but if you're not ready to take action, it won't get better.
yeah,
So I agree. Strategies, hacks, they're all going to be there, but it takes one decision, and that's the decision. Are you wanting to go down that direction, or do you want to
yeah.
stay where you're at?
That's why sometimes when I'm not gonna, but we just had a meeting, and the question was, well, how much do you want to make next year? I know what I want to make next year, and like I have the number in my head. And when people don't, or realtors don't know how to answer that, I already know what the problem is. It's
Mm-hmm.
that first of all, there's a mindset there that you have to undo. That because what if they can't even fathom like the thought of making an extra $20,000. Like that's outrageous, right? But you have to just visualize yourself in that scenario, and it's gonna happen. But if you never do, then it's never gonna happen. So one of the things he did say was just pick a number, just make a decision, pick a number, right? And I think the answer was 120. Okay, some of my my best years were whenever I knew exactly what I wanted to make. Because what did I do? I worked backwards. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was I super disciplined about how I got there? I think I was disciplined on the goal, like the mindset, and like I was low key obsessed. Um, and I think everything followed with the action, you know, because there are, like, he did break it down, the coach, like, okay, if you want to make 120,000, you're gonna have to make this many contacts a day, and you have to sell this many, and then the percentage of that is gonna be, you know, he broke it
Yeah.
down to a science. Um, but
Here's also
it's
the problem. It's like the saying that if we give ourselves, so say you have to clean the living room, we give ourselves, oh, I'll clean the living room by Friday. You're gonna do it like Friday at some point. But if you give yourself a time limit and really work on those mini goals in between that big goal, then you force yourself. It's almost like you trick your mind into like getting it done faster. And there's a book that I read. Of course, I'm always gonna suggest books, and it's called the 12-week year. And it basically takes your whole year that we would say, oh, this year I'm going to make this goal, the 120,000, right? And then you're supposed to like break it up into mini goals and do in 12 weeks what you would do in 12 months. Now, you might always hit it, but when you work and you've given yourself a smaller time frame, it almost shifts your mindset to like get there. Like you've got a time limit to get there. I would suggest everyone look at that book if you're trying to like figure out how to get to your goal. But I love that, and I've always preached that. Take your monetary, and I had a call with a client, and I asked him the same thing. What was his goal? And I said, okay, so you want to make X. Even at the current, he had a high split with his broker. It was like 50-50, but they were getting leads. They were giving leads like a lot. I said, okay, so I broke it down at an average of $350,000 a house at this percentage. You need to do 52 houses. We need to close 52 houses in a year. Okay, what is that in a month, right? So I'm like, so instead of answering 5 calls that come through as leads, you need to answer 15, because out of those 15, so it's the same thing. Are your actions, when you have the goal and have the why, are your actions showing the direction towards that?
exactly.
And we can talk about that all day. And I love having those conversations with people, because I, not only from experience, but just can see it from an outside perspective, and then I can share things with them and like open their mind to something that they didn't think of or didn't consider it, and then it opens up a different section in their brain, and then they're like on it. So
Isn't
next time I talk
that
to them, like,
crazy?
it is. And he's like, next time I talk to them, they're like, oh, I answered 20 calls, and then this happened and this happened. And I'm like, we've unlocked something to where not only the energy, but the mindset and the actions, and they're all in alignment. So it's a beautiful thing. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing.
Well, I always did hear, never take advice from someone who's not doing better than you. So that's the start. But yeah, it is such a beautiful thing to see whenever somebody's mind mentality opens up to just, believe that you can just do whatever you want. Um, I I don't know if you saw my post the other day, but I think I went to a farmer's
No,
market, and
that I had my phone on Do Not Disturb, and I get a notification.
no, it's so cool to like receive people's energy and their growth and all that. It's super cool to see that happen. And a lot of times I've come across other women in this business who doubt themselves, who don't believe they can do it. And man, that's why I tell you, I'm like, I think a lot of people have it, but it's not a real estate problem like you always say.
Mm-hmm.
It's a you
Mm-hmm.
problem. And
Yeah.
once you get over those things and you open up those little sections in your brain, you can do whatever you want.
I
But I mean, you got to.
I love helping other women realize that, because we're women, so we can relate that. But I have to say, like, 2 of my clients have been men, and just offering the little bit that I did offer helped them a ton. And it's not just about opening up the brain, but it's opening up the heart,
Yeah,
because it's all interconnected. And I don't want to get on an emotional level because we do talk about real estate, but I always tell my clients when I meet them, because I'm a real estate coach, you don't have
Yeah.
a real estate problem. Like I can solve your real estate problem in 5 seconds and we can get it taken
Yeah.
care of.
There's a
The
science
problem
to
is
it.
deeper.
The
Yeah.
problem is deeper within you.
And that's the encouragement that I give all of you is like if you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, deciding to go into business or in real estate, work on yourself at the same time. That will be the gift you give to your business. I promise you.
Yeah. Well, I think we should end on that note. That's really cool.
All right. Well,
My problem,
next week,
I don't have
I
a
mean,
time
you've
problem.
got to go back and watch this of like you getting off the line.
Just
I
me.
think it was hilarious. It was good. It was good to show like the the what is it? The show must go on,
Yeah.
and
I don't
it's
have
okay.
a time problem. I have something in me is wrong problem. So I'm gonna figure that out.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. If you're watching the replay, I hope you grab something great from this, and we will see you next
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.